How and when was Christianity introduced to Africa? Christianity, slavery, and colonialism. The South African traditionalist Credo Mutwa said, when Africans saw the cross, which missionaries often hung around their necks, they immediately recognized it as the symbol of the eternal God who dies and is born again forever and ever. They respected missionaries as messengers from this God, which is why in some part of Africa, missionaries were called a name which is also one of the many names of the African sun god, Muruti. Muruti means the great teacher, a name by which Tswana speaking, Owambo speaking, and Sotho speaking people still call missionaries to this day. Credo Mutwa argues that long way before the arrival of Christianity in Africa, Africans believed and knew most of the Christian symbols like the cross. He mentions the types of crosses that were used by Africans for healing purposes long before the establishment of Christianity. The perfect cross, the most powerful cross of all. This was a cross that had all its four wings of exactly equal length. The cross of the kind that white people call the Celtic cross. The cross, which is often placed within a circle with all its wings of exactly equal length. The people used this cross, drawing it in its many forms, healing some of the most horrible diseases to which the body is prone. The T-shaped cross, known in Western mysticism as the Tau cross. There was the proper cross of this kind we are told Jesus was crucified upon. A cross with a long stem and short arms. Then there was the unsaid cross, known to white people as the Ankh, which many Western thinkers wrongly assume to have been only known to the ancient Egyptians. The Ankh was actually known by our people as the knot of eternity or the knot of eternal life, and it was used even by Khoisan people for purposes of healing. Then there is the X-shaped cross, which even today we find teachers in schools use to mark a wrong answer. Africans believed that the X-shaped cross possessed great powers of evil, and they used it to put curses upon people. Who are the missionaries and what their roles were? It is important to recognize the complex and multifaceted history of missionary work in Africa. While some missionaries did play a role in paving the way for colonization by providing a religious and cultural framework that aligned with colonial agendas, it is essential to also consider the varied motivations and actions of individual missionaries. Some genuinely sought to spread Christianity and provide humanitarian aid, while others may have been complicit in or actively supported colonial violence and exploitation. Understanding the intersection of missionary work and colonization in Africa requires a nuanced examination of historical contexts, power dynamics, and the agency of both missionaries and local populations. It is crucial to acknowledge the negative impacts and legacies of colonialism while also recognizing the diverse experiences and perspectives within missionary movements. Various discoveries were made that shed light on the roles that were played by missionaries. Missionaries saw their major role as agents whose fundamental duties are to spread Christian values and Western civilization. They did so by accomplishing these three main roles: education, spreading the gospel, and promotion of social justice. To effectively do this, missionaries introduced Christianity to the Africans within the Western cultural context. In the process, some found themselves involved in the conflict between the colonial systems and African people, some specifically supporting the establishment of a colonial order, and also others on the African side fighting against the colonial systems. The indigenous form of Christianity was based, conceived, and understood within the cultural tradition of the people. Another missionary approach was to impose Western education and other Western values which these missionaries regarded as superior. They adopted a Western cultural superiority, thus undermining the cultural, religious, social, and political independence of Africans. They insisted that to become Christians, Africans had to completely abandon their culture and religion, which without any consideration were believed to be evil. In the process, these missionaries became part of the colonization process and contributed towards the political domination of the Africans. Some conclude that Christianity was turned into an ideology used to legitimize colonial oppression by the West. According to Stephen Ochen and Basil C. Nwanko, the colonial education was not rooted in African culture and therefore could not foster any meaningful development within the African environment because it had no organic linkage. They argued that it was reinforced in aggressive spirit by an arrogant messianic Christianity of both the Popish and Protestant varieties. These are a few examples of missionary activities after the Ethiopian story. The arrival of Christianity in Congo. In 1490, the first missionaries came to sub-Saharan Africa at the request of King Nzinga of Congo, also known as the Mani Congo. They came with craftsmen who rebuilt the Mani Congo capital in stone at Mbanza, Congo, in the north of modern Angola, and baptized the king. In 1560, the Portuguese missionary Dom Gonzalo da Silveira was another European to penetrate into the interior of Southeast Africa. He arrived at the inland of Inyambane and baptized many converts. He proceeded to Mwenemutapa Royal Place in the present-day Zimbabwe, baptized many converts before his death. According to S. Mudenge, Silveira's beliefs challenged the Karanga social and political beliefs, and the ones affected were too powerful for him, such that they overcome the potential threat he represented that resulted in his death. David Livingstone in the 1800s, whose mission was mapping Africa. He had the mandate to travel the whole Africa, and in his journey, he saw how horrific slave trade was. This sparked a great passion in him to end slavery. Afterwards, his work helped to change how the British view Africans as people and not a race below them. He helped in freeing Africans from the bondage of slavery. In late 1800, Mary Slessor was the first woman missionary in Nigeria. In 1892, the British government appointed her to be a judge. She used her role to protect the people from British cultural hegemony. She also contributed in the fight against the ruthless killings of women and children in Calabria. Ochen and Nwanko suggest that for African states to overcome their present social, economic, political, health, education, wars, etc., there is the urgent need for the people and the leadership to create their own indigenous identity, culture, technology, economy, education, religion, craft, etc., that would be interwoven in good governance.